Even after having a long-term strategy of investing, sometimes you get carried away by some short-term happening in the market. For example, you are very clear that you have invested for your retirement, and this was 2019 November. So you put in, say, 30% of your money or 50% of your money, and the remaining money was going through a systematic transfer plan. Then March 2020 happened, COVID happened, and the market fell. You panicked and you removed the money. Perfectly possible that we all will have done that, especially if we have a big stake in the equity markets, right, far beyond our capacity. So if you are unable to sleep with the asset allocation that you have done, it means you have got too much money in equity. You need to have lesser money in equity maybe, but because you were worried about the short-term volatility, you removed all the money from equity, or you read some article somewhere saying, oh, this fund house has done badly, so you should remove all the fund, all the schemes of that fund house, which was stupid advice, but it was available in the market. You reacted on the basis of FOMO. You were worried that what will happen if the market continues to fall like this, and you removed exactly in April 2020, where market was at its nadir. That was a great time to be investing, but you did the reverse. You started withdrawing all the money and keeping it in a bank FD, right? So that is the most obvious reaction when you hear of a worldwide panic of some illness. But come September and you realize that it was a huge mistake, but you were afraid. You were saying, oh, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, and so you didn't invest till the markets went up much higher. Do these things happen? Yes. So abandoning your long-term strategy for something which happened in the short term is very bad and can be very hurtful, because in the short term markets are very volatile. Based on that, you cannot take a 20-year decision. In the long run, you would have got your 15% or 16%, which is very good in a country where inflation is 7%. But because you panicked at the wrong time, or you panicked at all, that return was lost. And why did you panic? You panicked because it was a short-term event which marred your view on the in the long term in the market, and therefore you got out, right? So this bad timing simply because you panicked is bound to happen. You have to learn to control your nerves if you are a good equity investor. That is what I'm saying. The ability to judge risk, what risk hits which part of your portfolio, is very important for an equity investor. It is not easy, but if you can't control your fear, greed, regret, etc., then it's very difficult to be a good equity investor. So my suggestion is create a group of friends, or maybe online, and talk to each other about saying what really is FOMO, what is, why am I reacting like this, is it right, is it wrong. Have a listening post, right, a hearing board which will listen to you, talk to you and all that. It should not become too much of an obsession that you give up everything else except chatting on this forum, but find out from there whether you are reacting irrationally. If your portfolio falls because the market falls, that is natural, but if your portfolio does not fall as much as the market falls, you have done a good job. But if your portfolio falls more than what the market falls, it might be a good time to be sitting tight or investing more. But you can do that only, like I said, the first thing. If you do not know what are your goals, chances are you will go wrong with these things, and therefore you are judging risk very wrongly. In the short run, yes, volatility is the risk. In the long run, it is inflation which is the risk. So you are worried about volatility, so you say, oh, I'll put all my money in bank FD, and you are ignoring the bigger risk of inflation, right? You cannot afford to do that. Then totally avoiding foreign securities. Understand one thing, if you see the MSCI index, you will not see India. India is just mentioned somewhere along with the emerging markets, including China, and we have a very small weightage. However, you believe in indexing, so you have invested in Indian index fund. Fantastic. You have not invested anything abroad. That might be a wrong thing to do, simply because we are a global economy, but you might as well take a stake in, say, China, in Japan, in Taiwan, and there are funds like this available, which are fund of funds where you have to put in the money and the fund manager will allocate between different countries, or some advanced or developed country index fund. I think There is something like that. Rather than try doing direct equities, but some small portion, 10%, 15%, like how you would put in debt or gold, that should be in foreign securities also. You cannot afford to ignore the US market, whether you like them or don't like them, right? So you little bit of US, little bit of Europe, little bit of Asia, all that is needed in your portfolio, especially if you are an equity investor. I would suggest these through. One more thing to be considered is should you have only mutual funds in a big portfolio? I would think no. I would think you should have equity, and this video is being made for equity players, but I would think you should also have mutual fund, because certain asset classes it is almost impossible to reach out on your own, right? Can you invest in REITs abroad? Can you invest in a foreign debt? Can you invest in a bunch of foreign companies? Can you invest in, say, all the tech majors, right? You cannot invest through, you can't invest into Facebook and Google and all of them, right? It's very difficult to. So should you invest in a tech fund, or you just invest in a global fund, or you invest in one US fund, one China fund, one Japan fund, and a global index? Think about all this. It cannot be one size fits all. I have all my foreign investments are through Indian mutual funds, and I made them before this tax change. So it will lie there. Whenever I need the money, maybe 10 years later, I might withdraw it and put it into some Indian index fund. Till then, let it be there, because withdrawing is easy, but if I invest back, then all the growth there will get taxed as current income. So considering taxation, considering all that, it is necessary that you should have some portfolio in mutual funds, but keeping all money only in mutual funds without equity is also bad, because you miss out on some companies which will never make it to the portfolio of a fund house. For example, LMW, very unlikely that it will have a sensible amount of shares in any fund, simply because it's too big a share, very volatile, very illiquid, so none of them will build a position. Will they be able to sell 50 crores worth of LMW in a day? Extremely doubtful, right? So will big funds invest? No. So that is the best way for you to buy a Bosch or an MRF or any of those shares which you think the funds will never own, right? So these were some of the mistakes. I'm sure there are more, but this is what came to my mind. Thank you.